Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Anthony Ciaccia. Anthony, welcome to the podcast.
What's going on, man? Great to be here.
Not a whole lot. It's the day before the new year, 2023. So why not get a podcast in? Super excited to have you on, Anthony, and kind of get into your backstory. Before we kind of get there, I would love to know, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Well, my favorite bodybuilder of all time is definitely Tom Platz. A lot of his training videos really inspired me when I was younger. The whole, you got 5 more reps, you can always get 5 more reps. I still do a lot of his workouts today. Him, Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates, those are the bodybuilders I grew up on and I started watching. So anybody who knows me, who watches my videos and follows me, knows that's the way I train. I train super, super heavy for a lot of reps. So those are my favorite bodybuilders. The bodybuilders nowadays, I mean, obviously I follow bodybuilding nowadays, but those old school bodybuilders, that's what I grew up on. So I fell in love with bodybuilding. That's why I fell in love with bodybuilding, is those bodybuilders back in the day.
Awesome, dude. You can't go wrong with those 3. That's for sure. So,
yeah.
Now let us know, Anthony, at what age you started lifting weights, and then why did you start lifting weights at that specific age?
I started lifting weights when I was 14. Obviously for football, like a lot of people. I played ice hockey too. I actually started competing in competitive bodybuilding when I was 16. My very first show was the Tracy Greenwood Classic in Philadelphia. I won my teen division. I won my junior men's division, and I placed 3rd in the light heavyweight division. After that, I kind of fell in love with bodybuilding. And I honestly, I never had a coach. I've coached myself the whole time. I have had a mentor, but I never call him my coach. His name is Brandon, Science Fitness on Instagram. He's an amazing guy, amazing coach for other athletes, but he's my best friend. He's my brother. So him, Marvin Ward, IFBB Pro 202 Pro back in the day, he was a mentor to me. But no, I just fell in love with bodybuilding from the get-go. So
awesome, man. Okay, now before we kind of get fully immersed into your bodybuilding story, I want to learn a little bit more about Anthony as a young person, as a kid, as a child. So you mentioned you played football, you played hockey. What was your upbringing like? Paint that picture a little bit. You can talk about the sports, but also talk about just what was life like for you? What were you like as a student, as a kid, up to about high school? I know you competed first at 16, but before we kind of get further into the bodybuilding talk a little bit more about your childhood, please.
I had a very strict upbringing. My dad in the tree business for 37 years. So me and my 3 brothers were always on the job with him. I remember lifting and chip and brush at 10, 11 years old. We were on the job raking up and stuff like that. But through school was kind of tough for me because when I was younger, I was overweight. So having friends at that time was tough for me. You know what I'm saying? Because at that time, it was oh, you're fat, you're obese, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. And I feel like that played a part into me getting into lifting too, because I just wanted to lose weight, wanted to look good. So it was always tough for me to make friends and stuff like that, especially in the younger years. But as soon as I started my bodybuilding journey, I learned very quickly to not care what people think about me. And if you're gonna like me, you're gonna like me for me. But again, like I said, it was I've had a very strict upbringing. My dad had his business. It was tough for a long time. My brothers weren't always the best brothers, but they picked on me a lot. And again, that transitioned into me doing bodybuilding. So, but I mean, I didn't like school very much. I was an okay student. Um, I'm actually dyslexic. I have a reading problem and stuff like that. I'm not afraid to admit it now. I was afraid to admit it then, but so coming up through like fourth grade through like eighth grade, I had a really bad reading problem. I would get made fun of for it. You know what I'm saying? Like teachers asked me to read out loud in class, and the words would just like jump off the page. Like I didn't know what they meant and stuff like that. So I pushed through that, got through that, and that was a really tough time because nobody wanted to talk to me. Oh, that's the dumb kid over there. He can't even read. So I was pretty much alone those years. But then going into like ninth grade and my high school, it got a little bit better. Playing football, I was friends with the whole football team, and when you're friends with the football team, everybody wants to crowd around the football team. So it was a little bit better in high school, but no, for the most part, my younger years were not the best years. So
Okay. Something I want to ask you then, Anthony, you said that you grew up in a pretty strict home and you had to work for your dad's business at a pretty young age. Now, did that create some resentment towards, your dad when you kind of had to work at a young age and you kind of grew up in that strict home? Because a lot of us who grow up in strict homes, rebel at some point just because sometimes I think parents can kind of take that strictness overboard. And especially when you start getting into those tween years and middle school years, it's kind of natural to rebel against authority for a lot of us. So did you have some resentment towards your dad, your family, because of those things, or not necessarily?
yeah, I mean, I definitely did. I was always close with my mom. I mean, I was the youngest, so I was my mom's baby. But no, I definitely had some resentment towards my dad. Um, I mean, we get along today because I mean I'm 25. That's stuff in the past. It's water under the bridge. I don't even care about that stuff. But no, those years I definitely had resentment towards my dad because I mean we went from me and my three brothers. We went from school to work, and then sometimes we wouldn't get home from work until 10 o'clock at night. Like I remember as a kid, uh, my dad would have the police call him because he'd be running his brush bandit at 10 o'clock at night, still chipping brush, trying to get a job done. And we're like, what are you doing? Like, but that's just the way he is. He had no off switch. My dad was one of those guys, he had no off switch. It was work, work, work 24/7. So,
All right. Now, I want to ask you, when were do you remember that first time that you were exposed to bodybuilding? And if so, when was it? And how did that occur?
the first time I was exposed to bodybuilding was my buddy Brandon. He brought Marvin Ward into an LA Fitness around me. And I don't know if you know who Marvin Ward is, but he's 4 foot nothing. He was saying he's like 4'8", but he was so wide. And I'm like, I asked Brandon, I'm like, yo, who is that? I was like, what? First of all, what is that? And who is that? And he's like, dude, that's Marvin Ward. He's a 202 pro. And I remember talking to Marv and stuff like that. And he's like, man, he's like, do you compete? I'm like, nah, I just turned 16. I mean, I was lifting and stuff like that, but he's like, man, you should compete. I'm like, really? You think so? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, here. He's like, I'll show you the ropes, show you the poses and stuff like that. He's like, you should do this show. Here it was the Tracy Greenwood Classic. Here it was only 2 weeks away. Now, mind you, my first bodybuilding prep was 2 weeks. He's like, yeah, man, just cut all your carbs. You'll be all right. I cut all my carbs. I was eating nothing but like chicken and green beans. So I remember going down there. Like I said, I won teens and stuff like that. But that was the first time I was exposed to bodybuilding. I remember seeing him and I'm like, I didn't know somebody that short can be that wide. He was as wide as he was tall. Like I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Right. Love it. And Marvin, I mean, he was, I mean, he was a pretty elite bodybuilder in that 202 division, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He actually, my buddy Brandon, his uncle and him used to train over at Man's World in Trenton, where Phil Hill came from and stuff like that. So they did universes, they did nationals and all that stuff. Marv kept turning down his pro card because there was, at the time, there was no division for him to compete in, because he was winning his pro card at bantamweight and stuff like that. So he's not going to compete in the open against guys that are 260, 270. So that's when Jim Manion came out with the 202 class, and that's when Marvin's like, all right, let's go. And then they started doing shows. I'm pretty sure he won a couple pro shows too.
Yeah, I remember Marvin back in the day for sure. Okay, now, you know, this first exposure to bodybuilding was, you know, an IFBB Pro, Marvin Ward and your friend Brandon. Now, you know, and then you said you competed like in 2 weeks, which that's pretty wild. I've never heard that before. But what do you feel like at that age? You know, you're 15, 16 years old, Anthony. After that initial shock of seeing a human being looking like Marvin, right? What do you feel like as you continue down this bodybuilding path, so to speak? Like what kind of really attracted you to bodybuilding as a whole, as a culture, as something that you've fallen in love with?
Well, I mean, initially it was, I don't want to be that big, but I do want to compete, but I don't want to get that big. But as soon as I got into like really competing, I'm like, I want to be I don't want to fit through a door. Like that's how big I want to be. But like seeing Marv and seeing like just like the lifestyle, like he showed me the lifestyle. He showed me like, yo, this is what you got to do. This is how you do it. This is how you go about it. I just fell in love with the whole process. I love dieting. A lot of bodybuilders complain about dieting and stuff like that and eating food. Like, I don't mind dieting. I love dieting. I love the cardio. I love the whole bodybuilding process. I love the smell of tan. Like when you go backstage, you smell the tan. Like I love that smell. I love the whole part of bodybuilding. Like a lot of times, like because they have a lot of bodybuilding shows around me, obviously Jersey, PA, and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll just go to bodybuilding shows just to go, just to watch it, just to go backstage and stuff like that, just because I'm so in love with the sport. You know what I'm saying? And when I came up, there was none of the fitness influencers that we have nowadays. It was hardcore bodybuilding. It was bodybuilders. That's what ran the scene. That's what everybody came to see. But now it's more towards like the Instagram influencers, which is fine. It's just a change in pace. That's all it is. Is it going to phase out bodybuilding? Absolutely not. True hardcore bodybuilding is not going anywhere, and you know that. But like when I grew up, like I said, what I grew up on is that hardcore bodybuilding, and honestly, obviously not at the elite level. Everybody's a hardcore bodybuilder, but I feel like at the amateur level and even at the national stage level, there are more influencers than hardcore bodybuilders. Even like when I did nationals, not this year, but last year, there was 47 guys in my light heavyweight class. This year, there was 22. It's crazy how it can go from 47 guys to 22 guys in a class. And that just boggled my mind. I'm like, it's everybody wants the followers on Instagram now, because that's honestly, that's what gets the sponsorships. You know what I'm saying? A hardcore bodybuilder that has 5,000 followers on Instagram is not going to get a sponsorship, but somebody that has 100,000 followers on Instagram that has a subpar physique is going to get the sponsorship, because they're able to push that content out there that much more. There's 100,000 eyes seeing whatever he's pushing versus 500,000 eyes that's seeing what the hardcore bodybuilder is pushing. Because listen, like I have videos and stuff like that. I have people film me in the gym, but I'm sorry, I'm not carrying around a tripod in the gym with me and a camera and stuff like that. I can't do that. Me personally, I'm already in the gym for 2.5, 3 hours, especially when I'm on prep. I can't be in there another hour filming. You know what I'm saying? I have my dad to take care of. I have my girlfriend. I have my house and stuff like that. Like that's a lot of stuff. My job, I'm a full-time butcher. Like I can't be in the gym for 5 hours trying to get content, trying to get angles and lighting. So, but that was my little rant. But it's just the body. I feel like bodybuilding's taking a switch to the more the influencers. Well, just like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's definitely bringing in more money for the sport. But like Dexter Jackson always used to say, there's a reason why we sell out, why we get the money, because our VIP seats are $1,000, and for men's physique it's $20 for the expo. There's a reason the bodybuilders are making $500,000. Hardcore bodybuilding is not going anywhere. It's just the influencers are bringing in more money. At this time, they're bringing in more money for the sport, then they're going to get more stuff. It is what it is.
Amen, man. I couldn't agree more. And I've got 10 years on you, dude. So the times that you grew up in were completely different than the times that I grew up in terms of bodybuilding. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm going to try to get a few more rants out of you here in a little bit. But I want to ask you now, Anthony. So you mentioned that your career is actually a butcher. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, before you go any further, let's take a step back, because obviously you started bodybuilding and competing at a very young age. But outside of like getting bitten by the bodybuilding bug as a teenager, when you were kind of finishing up high school, did you have any thoughts of what you wanted to do outside of bodybuilding in terms of a career, or were you thinking about, continuing to work for your dad? Like, talk to us a little bit about that, and then lead us into how you became a butcher, because that's a very unique profession.
Yeah. So my dad obviously wanted me and my brothers to take over his business, but I mean that's a rough business, man. I mean, like 37 years, my dad has herniated discs all up and down his back. I mean, which I ain't doing too better with bodybuilding with lifting the way I do, but no, we just saw the way my dad was, and we're like, we don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's a rough business, man. And it's different when you own your own company. You know what I'm saying? And that's all you think about 24/7 is your company, your company, your company. So it was already established, obviously, around here, but we just didn't want to do it. So we told my dad, like, listen, sell off your tree equipment. We're going to go our own ways. Um, Initially, I wanted to be like a personal trainer. That was like not like a contest prep coach at the time, because I didn't even know what a contest prep coach was, but like a high class personal trainer. That's what I wanted to do. Like, go to college for it, get a degree in it. Um, but unfortunately, I was actually kicked out of my parents' house at 16. For You're gonna laugh at this, for wanting to go to the gym. They said I was going to the gym too much. My dad said he was going to cut my gym time down to 2 days a week. And I said, no, you're not. You're not cutting my gym time. That's all I do. That's all I was doing at 16 is going to the gym. I was like, you want me to be out with my friends drinking and getting drunk and doing drugs? Or would you rather have your kid in the gym bettering himself? And he didn't get that. So they ended up kicking me out. I ended up living with my brother. And I needed to make money. So I got a job at ShopRite as a meat wrapper. So I did that for about 2 years. And the meat manager came to me at my shop right down the street here, and he's like, would you be interested in entering our apprentice program? I'm like, what's that? He's like, you would go through the apprentice program for about a year. And then at the end of that program, we would give you a cutting test. If you're able to cut everything that we asked you to, then you'll be able to become a butcher and make twice as much as you're making now. As soon as he said to make twice as much as I'm making now, I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I went through the program. I did all that. I became a butcher for the Fairless Hill shop right over here. They transferred me over to the Yardley shop right in PA. I worked there for about 3 years as a cutter. And just last year, I've been at City Beef in Trenton for about a year now. I'm the head butcher over there. And it's a little bit different because we actually break down hindquarters and stuff like that. So like at supermarkets, the meat's already pre-cut, and all they have to do is trim it up and fit it to the size of the boat that it goes in. Where I'm at, it's actually like a slaughterhouse, and we have to break down hindquarters and stuff. So it's a lot harder. And that was very, very hard to learn for me. But but no, now I'm the meat manager and head butcher over there. It was never something I really wanted to do. It's the money's really, really good. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lost profession. A lot of the cutters that I learned from are in their 70s and they're retired. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm 25. My generation's not going to sit there and get blood and pork juice all over them and get dirty like that. Me, I don't care. Like I've been getting dirty since I was a little kid with my dad's business, so it doesn't bother me. But my generation, they want to be accountants or whatever, be TikTokers or whatever they want to be. Um, but no, once I saw the money that was involved in it and how the supply and demand was, there was no cutters out there, I can pretty much name my price and say, listen, this is what I want to make. If not, then you're not going to have me. That attracted me to being a butcher because, like I said, it's a lost art. And it is a very, very hard job. And sometimes like those hindquarters are sometimes like 600-700 pounds, and we got to carry them in there, cut them up and stuff like that, break them down. It is a hard job. It's freezing back there too. It's a meat cooler. It's 30 degrees. Your toes are wet because you got to wash up afterwards. Your hands are freezing cold. But no, I mean the money's great, so I can't complain.
And you know what? It goes to back what you were kind of talking about earlier, Anthony, you know, with the money thing in terms of the social media and stuff. It's like, you know what? You love bodybuilding some way, somehow you got to figure out how to pay for that that passion. So it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Exactly. And it's like I don't have, I mean, obviously like my sponsor, Aries, Pat, he's a great guy. He helps me out with so much. He helps out the community so much. But listen, bodybuilding is very, very expensive. Does he help? He absolutely helps. But like for nationals, I think I dropped like 7 grand just to do the show. Driving down there, I don't fly. I don't fly anywhere. I drive. So me and my girlfriend, she drove me down. The Airbnb for 5 days, the tan. Entering a national show is now $375. The tan, all the food you're eating while you're down there, it's expensive, man. It really is. So if you're gonna do bodybuilding and really do it, you have to have a good job backing you up. If not, you better have like a really good sponsorship paying for all your bills, like all your expenses for the show. Because if nationals was 7 grand, I can't imagine what some of these IFBB pros put out.
Yeah.
That maybe aren't sponsored. They're not at the top of the game. Maybe they're not a well-known pro, and they got to put out 10, 12, 13 grand to do a show. That a show that they might not even win. They might have to place it. So that's I feel like when you're able to do something like that, that's true love for a sport. When you're going to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week at another job to put that money into a lot of people call it a hobby, but into another sport, that's true love right there. That's love for a sport. If you told if you told LeBron James, okay, the money you're making from Nike, for you to play basketball, you got to put that money in Nike and then put it into basketball, he wouldn't play basketball. But bodybuilders we'll take 10 grand of our life savings and we'll put it out for a national show. A show we might not even get a pro card at. You can't say that's not love for a sport.
No, and that's why I think a lot of us are passionate about bodybuilding, because you know, it goes against the grain. It goes against common sense a lot of the times, and it goes against what a lot of people think you know, a quote unquote sport is. So now let's okay, so we touched on your profession, how you kind of pay for this passion of yours in terms of bodybuilding. Now let's go back. So you compete at 16 after 2 weeks of kind of a prep. So why don't you just start, because I saw that you've been nationally qualified like 8 times. It looks like from your Instagram you've competed a lot. I know you competed at nationals in 21 and got 3rd place. That would be 1 place away from a pro card. So from that first competition at 16, walk us through, Anthony, kind of your competition history, touch on some of the highlights. Just let's start really diving into bodybuilding talk.
So after the Tracy Greenwood Classic when I was 16. The next show I did was the Europa Pro and the Europa Classic when it was in Atlantic City. The one that Branch Warren won when Cedric Millen placed second. I did the team division there. Ended up losing the team division. I think I placed fifth in the light heavyweights. That wasn't too good of a prep for me. I'm 17. I mean, I didn't have a coach. I was kind of winging everything. So that didn't go as planned. So I took a year off after that because I looked horrible. I really did. For 17, like a kid that was like half my size beat me just because he was in better condition. I was really, really soft. So I stepped back. I took a year off, really, really did my research, really looked up bodybuilding, really looked up different diets, trial and error, just did everything myself. And then I came back into, I think it was 2016 or 2017. I did the Big Cat Classic right here in Pennsylvania. I was only 19. I won my teen division. I won my junior men's division, and I won the open light heavyweight. I placed second in the overall. That kind of opened up my eyes, like, oh my God, I can really do this. Like I can really make something come out of bodybuilding. And then I competed again the next year at the Big Cat. I tried to move up a weight class, tried to go into heavyweight. That wasn't a good idea. I came in a little bit softer. Ended up placing second in the heavyweights. And then after that, I did the Excalibur out in PA. Again, tried to come in too big. Ended up placing second in the heavyweights. And then me and my buddy Brandon Taylor, we were like, yo, your best look was at light heavyweight. We got to bring you back down to light heavyweight. So I ended up doing the Virginia States and Armed Forces show in Virginia. Ended up winning the overall. I won the light heavyweight class and won the overall. Because he told me, he's like, yo, stop doing junior men's. He's like, just stop doing it. So I did that. And then that qualified me for nationals. So I took a whole year. I was going to do North Americans in 2021. Because I always heard North Americans was a great show. So I'm like, let me try North Americans. I ended up pulling my back on deadlifts 4 weeks out. And like when I say pull my back, like I couldn't move. I didn't go to work for a week, like 3-4 days. Like my girlfriend had to put my socks on. It was that bad. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I should shut it down or not, but I'm like, yeah, I'm 4 weeks out. Like I should just keep going. As soon as my back heals up, just watch what I do and just keep going. So I did. And then I did nationals. And I remember getting down there. I was 207 when we got down there. And I'm like, man, I got to make this weight. So hopped on the cardio with the sauna suit and sweatpants and stuff like that. I took like 8 Epsom salt baths. I ended up dropping 12 pounds in like 18 hours to make light heavyweight. I think I weighed in like 195. And I actually called my buddy Brandon. I'm like, dude, I weighed in 195. He's like, you need to start eating. Like, so you're dropping too quick. So I started eating, started filling out, and sent him some pictures. Like, dude, he's like, you look amazing. I even because Nick Walker's from Jersey. So I know Nick Walker. He's a friend of mine. I sent him some pictures in the hotel room after I dropped the water. He's like, dude, you're peeled. He's like, you're peeled. And coming from Nick, I was like, all right, I must be peeled. If he's saying I'm peeled, I must be peeled. And he actually helped me out a lot with the nationals prep, but we'll go back to that. So I'm like, yo, if I could just get top 5, just first call out, that's all I want. So I did the individuals, came back out. Like I said, there was 47 guys in my class. So I'm like all the way in the back on the diagonal and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, nobody's going to see me. I'm not getting first call out. Steve Weinberg called my number first, put me dead center. I was like looking down at my number, like he did not call my number. Walk out, we start posing. It was May I was in the center with Mike. I forget his last name. But it was me,
Connell,
Mike. Yes, me, Mike Connell, and who was the other guy? Oh
Justin
my God.
Jacoby.
No, 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 no. It was he deleted his Instagram. Short kid, dreads. He had amazing physique, but it was us battling out for top three. I held the center for the first half of prejudging, and then they switched. His name was Chauncey. He deleted his Instagram though. I don't know why, but they switched me and Chauncey out at the last end of prejudging. So I get off stage. I see my buddy Steve Metropolis. He's a big coach out here. He's like, dude, he's like, you looked amazing. He's like, I think you have it. He's like, just try to fill out your chest more. He's like, when you were posing, your chest was kind of losing fullness. Ended up walking through the expo. I saw my buddy Nick Bono and Nikki Politi. Nikki Politi's a good friend of mine. She's a IFBB Pro head judge, and she head judges all the PA shows out here. She's like, I think you have it. She's like, again, like what they all said, you're losing a little bit of fullness up top. So I went back to the Airbnb and I just started pounding food because I wasn't drinking any water. So I just started pounding the food, pounding the food, pounding the food. Like, this is no exaggeration. I probably ate at least 6,000-7,000 calories, and maybe, I don't even know, probably 1,200-1,300 grams of carbs. And I was still flat. Came back to the night show. You know the lady who owns CJ Trunks?
I don't know. I don't know. I've heard of them, but I don't know her personally or anything. No.
Well, what is it? My girlfriend, like, she can talk, she can sit there and have a conversation with the wall. So she was talking to her backstage. She actually gave me a pair of trunks. She's like, oh, I don't like those trunks. Put these trunks on. I'm like, okay, you're the boss, whatever. But no, she saw me at before I was heading back for the night show, and she like grabbed like my lower back, and she's like, you're still not full enough. And I'm like, I'm eating, man. Like, I'm eating whatever I can. So I drank like 4 ounces of water, and then that's when everything just came to life. That little bit of water just started pushing those carbs, and I thought maybe because I came back to the night show a lot fuller and I still had my conditioning, maybe they'll rejudge the class. They ended up they didn't. They gave Chauncey to it, which, hey man, him and Mike definitely deserved. They looked incredible. But I thought maybe coming back a little bit fuller, they would have been like, yo, you know what? Let's rejudge the class real quick. Let's see if he can etch him out, because it was a 1-point decision between me and Chauncey. And for me to be right there at my first national show, man, that was like, even though I didn't win, like, I still cried backstage, even though I didn't win, because all the expediters, like Guy Del Corso was talking to me backstage. He's like, I haven't seen a light heavyweight class this big in 25 years. He's like, this is the biggest light heavyweight class I've seen in a long time. So just to beat out 45 guys and have Chauncey and Mike beat me, that I was beyond surprised. Your first reaction coming off stage, I'm like, man, I should have won. I was like, I should have beat both of them. I should have been first. But then you calm down, you look at the pictures, like, man, like, Mike, when he turned to the back and he hit a back double, it was lights out. And I know that. Chauncey, if you go back to the photos, like, his muscles were just too round and too bubbly. And he had conditioning. So I was like, all right, well, that's why he won. And then me and then everybody else. But just placing top 3, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. It was a great rain. It was really well done show. They ran it perfectly. It was just, the class was so big. 47 dudes or 48 dudes have to do their individuals, their 30-second routines. Me and Mike were waiting there. We're like, dude, when are we going out? We kept asking the expediters, like, yo, when are we going out? When are we going out? Oh, it'll be 5 minutes. 25 minutes later, I'm like, yo, I'm losing my pump. I'm starting to get flat. Everybody's running back, because like at nationals, once you're back, like behind the the monitor and stuff like that, you're not allowed to bring any food with you. The only thing you're allowed back there is bands. So we were running like 5, 6, 700 feet to go get food, and then running back, and then going to get food, and then running back. And then I'm like, dude, like this is going to destroy some people's looks. Thank God I held on to it. But
Awesome, man. Now let's we're gonna I want to talk about training here in a bit, but after you got that third place finish at Nationals in 21, that would have been December of 21. What were your plans going into this year? And then I think if I remember correctly, because I reached out to you before Nationals this year to get you on the podcast and asked you if you're doing it. And it sounded like you know, there's you know, something happened within your immediate family. So talk about what you were planning on doing this year. Walk us through this year, and then we're going to take a couple steps back, talk some training and some other stuff, Anthony.
yeah, so this year, I was planning on doing North Americans. I wanted to do North Americans because I've always loved how that show was ran. I've been out there once, so I liked how it was ran. And then, like I said, a good friend of mine is Nikki Politi, so she helps Tan out there, and she's good friends with Gary Udick. So she's like, it's if you're going to do nationals, it's either that or it's the nationals. So I wanted to do North Americans. Um, Unfortunately, my mother passed away in June 2nd. She passed away, and that just that destroyed everything for North Americans. I didn't eat for about a week. I didn't train for about 2 weeks. It was a really tough time. It really was. It's still tough today, but so I started training again after that. After like 2, 3 weeks, I got back in the gym, got back to work and stuff like that. And I'm like, I need something to help take my mind off of this. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do nationals. Let's focus on nationals. Started prep for nationals. Almost did the whole prep. Like around like 4 weeks out, I broke down. I couldn't do it. Like my body was not responding. Mentally, I was just destroyed. I thought prep would help me, but it did nothing but hurt me. So I talked it over with my buddy Brandon, and he's like, dude, he's like, just shut it down. He's like, listen, he's like, if I lost my mom, the further thing from my mind would be prepping for a bodybuilding show. But he's like, I understand why you did it, just to get your mind off of things. So I shut it down, and I decided not to do it. It was just the mental for me to get into that zone. I have to be right mentally. You know what I'm saying? Like bodybuilding is more mental than anything. If you're mentally not in your right mind, then you're not going to be at your best. So around like 4 weeks out, I'm like, yeah, this is not happening. It's not going to happen this year. So I know like a lot of people go online like, oh, like I'm not doing nationals. I don't owe anybody any explanation. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't doing it. I told my sponsorship, I told Pat, I told a couple of close friends, and that was pretty much it. Because like you don't know what it's like to lose a parent unless you go through it. So that was really, really hard. Like I said, it's still hard today. Because my mom, like she fought. She had stage 4 throat cancer. She had breast cancer. She was MRSA positive. Like it was the list goes on. Like I can sit here and do a whole podcast of just her medical illnesses. But it was hard. But I mean, pushed through it. I tried to do prep. It wasn't working, so I just shut it down. We're gonna definitely do something next year. I got my mind right. I'm in a lot better mental place right now. Probably because I'm got to requalify for nationals. So I'm gonna do probably a warm up show in May, and then either do USA's in July, and if not, I was thinking about North Americans at the end of August. So we're definitely coming this year. So I'm ready mentally. So it's the off season's been good so far. So I'm ready to to get back up on stage. So
excellent. Now, from Nationals in 21, I'm assuming you got some of the judges' feedback. So what was their feedback, Anthony? And then what are you kind of continuing to work on in terms of your physique so that when you do step on stage at a pro qualifier next year, you earn that IFBB Pro card?
So the judges' feedback I actually saw Steve Weinberg about 3 weeks after Nationals, and I asked him, I was like, what? I showed him pictures and stuff like that. He's like, no, he's like, I remember who you are. I'm like, what do I need to work on? I was like, he's like, listen, he's like, your condition was really good. He's like, your condition was probably the best in the show. He's like, but you were losing fullness. He's like, you were sacrificing fullness for condition, which he's like, is not a bad thing. He's like, you just got to find that balance. And he's like, for your frame, you're going to need bigger arms. And he's like, honestly, that's why you lost. He's like, your fullness and the top two, like their bodies were more like put together. So that's what I've been working on is bringing up my arms. And what I've been doing is like this past Nationals prep that I didn't do, starting like 6 weeks out, I was doing like a mock meet every Saturday. So I would carb up on Friday night and then see how I would look on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? I would drop my carbs low all throughout the week and then carb up Friday night and see how I looked on Saturday. I would manipulate water, manipulate sodium, how much carbs and stuff like that, just to see where that best combination of conditioning and fullness came into play. And like everything's still a learning process for me because like I said, I do coach myself. So for me, it's trial and error. You know what I'm saying? It's not somebody saying, oh, this is what we're going to do. Obviously, like I have, like I said, my buddy Brandon Taylor, who I bounce ideas off of, and he gives me his feedback and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm making my own decisions. So it's a lot of trial and error. So that's what I've been doing. I feel like I found the recipe for being super, super dry and super conditioned. I just have to figure out how to add in the fullness. Because as soon as I started posing at Nationals, like I was in the box, like I said, the first half, because I still had my fullness. As soon as like I really started to pose, I started to flatten out a lot. And I feel like if I can keep that fullness, then I'll definitely get my pro card. It's just finding that sweet spot of having the fullness and having the conditioning too. And that's the hardest part because it's either you're super full and you're losing a little bit condition, or you're super, super conditioned and super dry and you're losing fullness. Trying to find that combination is very, very hard, especially when you're doing it alone and you're doing it by yourself. So,
right. Okay. Now I'm very curious because you keep mentioning that you prep yourself, and that's uncommon nowadays in the bodybuilding culture we're living in. So why do you choose to continue to prep yourself, Anthony, and not just hire, Brandon or somebody else in your area? I mean, there's a lot of elite coaches in your area, nationally as well. What do you say about that? I'm very interested in hearing.
So I feel like nobody's going to know my body better than I do. I've been prepping my body for 10 years now. So to try to get a coach to try to learn my body, that's going to take another year and a half to really learn somebody's body, maybe even longer. I know my medical history. I know my body inside and out. So I feel like nobody's going to know my body better than I do. And I'm a very firm believer that you can prep yourself.
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe some guys don't want to prep themselves because they get in their own head. Like if I prep myself, I'm not going to get in my own head. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, like I did this wrong. I did that wrong. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for so long now. Like I said, I placed third at Nationals prepping myself. So I must be doing something right. But I feel like a lot of guys can't get out of their own heads. That's why they don't prep themselves. And to be quite honest, like I don't have um three, four, $500 to give to a coach every month. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, like my buddy Brandon, like I've known him for 10 years. He's my best friend. He's my mentor in the sense of he brought me up through bodybuilding, and he's very knowledgeable. Like I said, I bounce ideas off. But if I'm gonna hire a coach, it's gonna be Chris Aceto or Matt Jansen. Those are my top two coaches if I hire somebody. So if I'm going all the way. And like I said, I don't have $500 to give to a coach right now. At any time, like that's just like if I'm able to prep myself, I'm going to prep myself. Um, so that's like I also like not being like I don't want to. At the end of the day, bodybuilding's on me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to lose the show and then call up the coaches. Oh, you made me do this. You made me do that. You don't know how many times I see that backstage at shows, even at NPC shows. They'll call up the coach. Oh my God, you told me to do this. I looked horrible. Listen, if I prep myself, I peak myself. I have nobody to blame but myself. It's all on me. So, I mean, I have great training partners around here and stuff like that. And I feel if you're able to diet, you're able to peak yourself. You have great training partners. I have a great sponsorship with Aries. I honestly, I feel like you don't need a coach. Maybe I wish I had a coach the first couple of years I was coming up to teach me the ins and outs of bodybuilding, really teach me. I feel like I would be ahead of where I am now in bodybuilding, but I was 16, 17 when I was coming up through bodybuilding. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't have the money then. I have a house. I have my girlfriend. I'm taking care of my dad. I don't have the money to give to a coach at any time. So that's why I coach myself. And like I said, nobody's going to know my body better than I do. And even my buddy Brandon, he helps me a lot, and he's been through me with me through every prep, every show. He knows what I do for peak. So if anything, I would hire him or tell him to coach. So.
Love it. I love you being honest with the money thing, because that was something I thought. I was like, well, it probably has something to do with money, because let's be honest, like you said earlier, I mean, you know, the $7,000 to go down to nationals in Miami to compete, like you throw, you know, a coach in there, and, you know, obviously you got to think about the PEDs. I mean, where does it stop? So you financially, you know, you got to draw the line somewhere. So I appreciate you being honest with us on that end, Anthony.
Yeah,
now,
especially like if you have to have your coach come down there with you, a lot of coach wants you to pay for their airfare, pay for their food, pay for everything down there. And it's like, dude, I'm coming back home and I'm like, I ain't got no money. You know what I'm saying? So I got to get right back to work. Like, we're like right after nationals, I couldn't even like enjoy Florida because we got off stage at like 1 a.m. Me and my girlfriend, we ate something, and then we had to be out of the Airbnb at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we started driving home Sunday morning. So I didn't even get a chance to like really like enjoy Florida, and it was beautiful down there. It was like 75 degrees, sunny. I was like, I can't even enjoy this. We had to start driving back up because I had to be at work on Monday. So it's just, and then like you said, trying to traveling a coach down there, bringing a coach down there, paying for all his stuff. It's just, I can't do it, man. That'll probably be another $3,000 added on the expense. That's a lot of money, man. That's not nothing.
No, that's, dude, you start, I mean, $500 to me, $1,000 to me, man, is a lot of money. I own my own business, and it's like, dude, you got to figure out really quick how you're gonna, you know, conserve money, save money, and where you're gonna allocate it, because that's life. So now let's talk a little bit about training. So you said Tom Platz, Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates were some of those guys that you really looked up to when you were coming up. You know, the higher volume, high intensity training. Walk us through your training in terms of kind of like how you started, and has it evolved over the years? Has it evolved over the last couple of years? If so, how has it, Anthony?
Yeah, well, when I first started training, watching like Ronnie Coleman and Tom Platz and all those old school bodybuilders lift super heavy, I'm like, that's how you build that size. You got to lift heavy. heavy for a lot of reps. So that's what I did. Unfortunately, I didn't know the length they were lifting. They were lifting for 45 minutes an hour. I was in the gym for 3.5 hours lifting like that. And that's how I started. I was just in the gym, just pounding the weights, pounding the weights. I remember when I first started training legs, I would sit there and do 15 sets of squats. I would sit there and just squat for an hour and a half, squat, 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 squat. And I'm like, why are my legs getting big? Their legs are huge. Why are my legs getting bigger? Um, and then like having different like training partners and stuff like that, I noticed to cut back on the volume, cut back on the length of the gym. So 3.5 hours turned into 2.5 hours. Still in the gym 2.5 hours. Even when I was like 18, 19, 20, I was still in the gym. I'm like, listen, I got to be in here for at least 2 hours lifting. I got to do 45 minutes of cardio after it and 20 minutes of ab after that. So I'm in the gym for 3.5 hours. It wasn't until about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I saw the way Nick Walker trained. 2 warm-up sets, a top set, back off set. That's it. And maybe he did, say if he did chest and triceps, he did 3-4 exercises for chest, 2 for triceps. That's it. He's like 45 minutes an hour tops. And I saw his growth because when he was out here in Jersey getting ready for North Americans, when he won it, he was training. That's during the pandemic. He was training at Attilas and Belmar, the one that stayed open. He was training at King's Gym out in Bridgeport sometimes. So for me to see his progress in person, just by changing the way he trained, I'm like, dude, I was like, that's the key. It's yeah, high intensity, heavy weights for a lot of reps, but for 45 minutes to an hour, maybe an hour and a half on legs or something like that. I could see that. But that's when the volume really cut back for me. Now I'm maybe lifting for an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. On legs or back, a bigger body group, maybe an hour and a half tops. I maybe do anywhere from, say if I'm doing chest, I'm doing 4 exercises, like 2 presses, 2 flies, and then I'll throw in some biceps at the end, 1 or 2 bicep exercises. I follow his training the way he trained. I do 2 warm-up sets, a top set, all-out set, and then a back-off set, 70-75% of my top set, and then that's it. Move on to the next one. And that, I feel like that training alone really helped me with my prep for nationals in 2021 because I just saw my body get so much more growth out of it. Like I was afraid I wasn't going to make light heavyweights. Like I said, I got down there at 207. I'm like, dude, I was like, I got almost 10 pounds to cut here. But just that training put on so much more size. And that's, like I said, that's the way I train now. It's just the little feeder sets, 2 feeder sets, a top set, and then a back off set, and move on to the next one.
Perfect. Now, you mentioned Nick Walker. How did you kind of get connected with him? And then also I know with Aries, they bring a lot of guys, kind of to their business and stuff. I think I saw some pictures like with Sean Clarita. I know Hostile, some of those guys did like a live podcast there at some point this past year. So just talk about Aries and being connected with some of these pros. And it's got to be kind of cool to have some of those guys around and being able to connect with them, right?
Yeah, man, it really is. Like Pat, he does an amazing job bringing the best pros around. Like he brought Flex Lewis down. Guy Cicinino, he lives right up in North Jersey, so he always comes down to the events. But Nick Walker was always a Jersey guy, so he trained at the Powerhouse in Hamilton, right by my house, for years with Jeff Long. So that I've always known him. He was always super, super nice to me. Nick Walker's one of the most humblest kids I've ever met in my life. I'm saying kid like I'm older than him, but he's one of the most humble guys I've ever met. But I remember prepping for nationals, and I sent him update pictures 8 weeks out. I still have the DMs on my phone. He DM'd me back, and I'm like, it destroyed me, man. He's like, you're extremely far behind. He's like, you're not going to be ready. I'm like, shit, man. I was like, this is coming from Arnold Classic winner, top 5 in the world. I'm not going to be ready. But I, I'm like, all right. I was like, he doesn't know my body. My body changes super, super quick, like very, very quick. If I show you pictures from 8 weeks out to 4 weeks out to the show, you'll be like, dude, I don't know how you did that. But I'm like, I know my body changes very, very quickly. So I buckled down. I did the rest of my prep. I sent him 4 week out updates. He's like, dude, he's like, what did you do? I'm like, dude, I followed what you told me to do. Like, he gave me a little plan. He's like, this is what you should be doing. Followed it to a T. 4 weeks out, I ended up looking amazing. I was like 217 4 weeks out, and I was conditioned at 217. He's like, dude, he's like, you look amazing. And then 4 weeks out, did the rest of the prep, sent him pictures. Like when I said, like when I started dropping water, he's like, dude, he's like, you're peeled. He's like, I've never seen somebody get that lean that quick. He's like, you're peeled. And I was like, dude, I was like, you're the one who helped me out. You're the one that told me what to do. So I just followed what he told me. And it's like, if you're getting advice from top 5 in the world, now top 3 in the world, Arnold Classic winner, you take that advice. And I DM'd him. I was like, dude, I was like, I appreciate you taking the time out and talking to me and stuff like that. So when he actually came down for the hostile event, I got the chance to train shoulders with him. And if you look at my videos, I'm real intense when I'm training. And me, him, and Pat were all joking around. He's like, man, he's like, I gotta fly you down to Florida to come train with me. He's like, I need that intensity. And Pat's like, yeah, he's like $50 an hour if you want to train with him. And I started laughing. And Nick's like, well, I only train for an hour, so it'll only be $50. But no, even training with him, man, like, pictures don't do him justice. Like, people see pictures like, oh my God, he looks amazing. When you see him in person, man, because he was in the depths of his off season, so he was 300 pounds when he was at the hostile event. He doesn't look human. He really doesn't, man. It's something to see in person because I'm 5'7.5". He's a little shorter than me at 300 pounds, like conditioned 300 pounds. I'm like, dude, you're an alien, dude. I don't know what that is. I'm like, when I saw him at 300 pounds conditioned in person, I'm like, dude, I was like, I don't know what you are. You look like a hindquarter. You look like a cattle, man. Like, ridiculous. I'm like, what is this? But no, he's always been super, super nice to me. Like I said, he really, really helped me out with that nationals prep. Like, really, like he really did. So, and he didn't have to do that. I'm not one of his clients. That just shows you what kind of person Nick is. He's a great guy.
Now, have you met Sean Clarita as well, Anthony?
Yes. Sean, I met at one of the annual parties at Aries. Again, man, they were because that's when Nick was at the Aries party with Sean. They were training together under Matt. And Nick kept busting Sean Clarita's balls about not finishing his food because he would leave like 20% of the food in the containers. Like, yeah, I'm gonna call Matt, tell him you're not finishing your food and stuff. But no, Sean Clarita, he's a super nice guy. I remember my girlfriend was sitting next to Sean and next to Matt at Nationals. And when I came out on stage, I did my individuals. Matt said to Sean, he's like, dude, that kid's super, super conditioned. And then Sean's like, yeah, I know him. He's from Jersey and stuff. And then when Natalie told my girlfriend, when she told me that, I'm like, man, Matt Jansen, like, said I was in condition. Like, he's Mr. Peak, man. He brings his guys in. He peaks his guys perfectly. So for that coming from him, and then coming into the night show, I saw Sean, and he's like, dude, he's like, you look great, man. He's like, I'm proud of you. He's like, you brought an amazing package. He's like, whether you win your pro card or not, he's like, he's like, now it's not a matter of when. Not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's just when you get your pro card. Mm-hmm. He's like, I think you'll do good. He's like, I think you'll do good in the pros. He's like, because that conditioning that he's like, you were hard, you were dry. He's like, again, he's like, you could just be a little bit fuller. So meeting him, I got a chance to meet George Peterson before he passed. He came down for one of the Aries events super humble guy, super nice guy. Even in his off season, he was eating tilapia and spinach. And I asked him, I was like, dude, why are you eating tilapia and spinach in your off season? He's like, dude, he's like, this is what I got to do. He's like, he's like, my metabolism ain't like everybody else's where I can eat burger and fries and get shredded. He's like, I got to diet year round to maintain my condition. And I picked his brain for a little bit. Very, very smart guy too. Him, uh, Victor Martinez. I got a chance to talk to Victor Martinez a couple times. He's a funny dude. If you know Victor, he's hilarious, man. He has some stories and stuff like that. You'll just sit there and laugh for 20 minutes straight talking to him. But no, I mean, Aries has provided us with bumping elbows with a lot of these top tier pros. And I'm very grateful for that because, I mean, just a chance to pick their brain for 10, 15 minutes, you can learn so much. Just 10 minutes talking to Flex Lewis about, yo, what did you do for this? What was this protocol like? What this, that, you know what I'm saying? And he'll sit down and talk to you for 10, 15 minutes. And the amount you can learn from that versus the amount, like, say, like your average gym bro knows, like I'll take 10 minutes with Flex Lewis all day. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Aries provides that to all the athletes and all the people around the tri-state area, like New Jersey, PA, New York. And people come from all over because they're top pros. Like, when does Flex Lewis come out to New Jersey? You know what I'm saying? So it's nice. Pat puts on a show for a lot of people, and it's cool to meet a lot of these pros because a lot of these pros I looked up to when I was younger. Guy Cicinino, Flex Lewis, Victor Martinez. I remember seeing him in magazines and stuff like that, and online and stuff. And seeing him in person. I mean, I'll always be a fan of bodybuilding, even if I'm competing against them. I'm a fan of bodybuilding. Am I going to sit there and take a picture with him backstage? Absolutely not. When we're backstage, we're getting ready to go out on stage. It's war. Afterwards, man, yeah, let's get a picture or whatever. But I'll always be a fan at heart. And just seeing these guys up close in person that you looked up to for years, it's an amazing experience.
Cool, man. How far do you want to take this bodybuilding thing, Anthony? What vision for yourself? What goals do you have for yourself in terms of being a competitive bodybuilder? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, let's say, as an athlete?
Well, I mean, everybody says I want to be on the Olympia stage. That's the number one thing. But I, like a lot of people that nowadays, when they get their pro cards, they're done. They just want that pro card status. I want to be a good pro. I want to be a really good pro. I want to be a great pro. If I'm able to make it to the Olympia stage, then God willing, I'll make it to the Olympia stage. But I want to be the best pro I can be. I don't want to just get my pro card and be like, oh, I'm an IFBB pro. That's it. That's just a stepping stone for me. Getting my pro card just allows me to compete against the best in the world. That's the way I see it. So if 5 years from now, God willing, hopefully I'm on that Olympia stage. Hopefully I'm winning pro shows. But even if not, even if I'm placing top 3 at pro shows and stuff like that, I just want to be the best pro I can be. It's always been a dream of mine being a pro. Like, so for me, like now, like just chasing that pro card, that's just a stepping stone for me. Getting that pro card, because last year the plan was, if I got my pro card at Nationals in 2021, I wanted to do a 212 show right after that, try to qualify for this year's Olympia, and then take an off season and come in and do a 212, the 212 Olympia. So that shows you I'm ready. I want to be on that pro stage as much as possible. I'm not going to do, I mean, now I'm only doing two shows a year, but when I turn pro, I'm going to run the gauntlet, man. I want to do as many pro shows as I can. Because I mean, it's bodybuilding. I want to compete. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do, if you're at the top of the game and you're just doing the Olympia, I totally understand. But if you're not, you should be running the gauntlet, man. You should be doing every pro show you can, seeing the world, because some of the overseas shows are really, really good too. But just traveling, you know what I'm saying, getting to meet your fans, doing pro shows, that's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I just want to be a good pro. I want to travel a lot. And if I'm on that Olympia stage in 5 years, then that's where I'm at. But it's not like, oh, I want to be Mr. Olympia in 5 years. Listen, I'm realistic. I know it's going to take time to get there. Do I think I have the genetics for it and the drive for it? Absolutely. We're just gonna have to see where the chips fall. You know what I'm saying? Because anything can happen in 5 years. You know what I'm saying? I could be Mr. Olympia in 5 years. You could be talking to this future Mr. Olympia right now. But like I said, I just want to be the best pro I can be, man. That's it. At the end of the day, I love the sport. I pay the sport to be in the sport. I truly love this, man. I love the ins and outs of bodybuilding. I do.
I think in 5 years, if you're going to be on that Olympia stage, Nick and Derek will probably have something to say about you trying to be Mr. Olympia, right, Anthony?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, that'll be just to stand next to those guys, man, would be a blessing. Just to stand next to them. I don't even care if I place 15th if I'm at the Olympia. Just to stand next to those guys, because it, it's amazing, man. Those guys in person, and like from the people outside looking in, they're like, oh, like they're a-holes or whatever and stuff like that. It's like, man, some of the like Flex, Nick, like there's some of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life, man. Those like their lines like at the Olympia and stuff like that are 3 hours long, and they'll take half an hour to talk to somebody.
Mhm.
You know, saying they'll sit there and they'll leave the expo at 11, 12 o'clock at night because they're talking to everybody for half an hour. That's just the people that they are, because they understand how popular they are, and just talking to somebody can change their life. You know what I'm saying? They just having Nick in my corner changed my life. You know what I'm saying? If I was prepping on my own, like truly on my own for that nationals prep, I feel like I would have did good, but not as well as I would have done if Nick didn't, if I didn't get the feedback from Nick that I did. So
Absolutely, man. All right, we're gonna wrap it up, Anthony. But before we do, I want to kind of just touch on one last thing in terms of maybe just some bodybuilding wisdom that you can share with maybe somebody that's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They're just trying to figure this bodybuilding thing out. They have that love for lifting. They have that love for competing, or maybe they're thinking about competing for the first time this new year, 2023. What's some bodybuilding wisdom that you can kind of pass on to those type of people, but all of us, in terms of some of your experiences that you've learned from?
definitely, if you're in your teens and you're looking to compete, I would definitely hire a coach. Hire a coach, not your local gym coach. Hire a good coach, pay the money for it. Because, like I said, I didn't, and I feel like I would be a lot further in bodybuilding if I did in my younger years. Um, Definitely hire a coach. Trial and error. Everything is trial and error. You have to. You can't put everything off on your coach. If you do hire a coach, you got to have some self responsibility. Do your research. Do your research. Like, listen, like if they're going to take it to that level, there's PEDs involved. It's bodybuilding. You got to do your research on that stuff. You have to know what you're putting in your body, what it was really designed for, the chemical makeup of it. Like, I done all the research on that stuff before I even did anything, because I wanted to know what that pea was really meant for, why it was designed, what it's used for nowadays, the chemical makeup of it. Like, I'm all for that stuff. Just really learning the stuff. Um, you're a teacher to the game. I mean, you're a student to the game. I'm sorry, you're a student to the game. So once you think you know it all, you'll go nowhere in bodybuilding. Your career will stop. Listen, your average gym guy probably doesn't know too much about bodybuilding, but when you actually ask a bodybuilder for advice, take his advice. Listen to him. You can learn a lot from people. Once you think you know it all and you don't have any room to learn, you're going to stop growing. Just learn. Just soak up all the information you really can, and just have fun doing it. You have to have a passion for this sport, because if you don't, if you're doing this for followers on Instagram or TikTok followers, it's not going to last. You're going to burn out. You're not going to want to do it anymore. Like, I love this sport. I'll be bodybuilding until the day I die. I really will. I'll be in the gym. I'll be doing this till the day I die. And I truly mean that. Like, I love lifting. I love bodybuilding. So if you're doing this for followers or you're doing it for sponsorships or anything like that, it's that's not motivation enough. You have to be motivated every day. If you're getting up at 3:30 in the morning to do your cardio, you're going to work at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's negative 20 degrees outside, and you're going to the gym again at night. You're doing another session, session of cardio. That's love, man. You have to have love and passion for this sport, because if you don't, I'm sorry, you're not going to go anywhere in this sport.
Excellent, man. Well, well said, Anthony. I want to thank you so much for coming on, man, sharing your life story, your bodybuilding story up to this point with us. Before I do a quick outro and I let you go, why don't you give us your Instagram? And then if you have any shout outs, anything that you want to leave us, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'll do that outro and then I'll let you go. So platform's yours, my man.
Appreciate you, man. It was great talking to you.
For sure. What's your Instagram, Anthony?
It's at Anthony_Ciaccia. Just my name. Also shouting out my best friend Brandon. It's Science Fitness on Instagram. Aries Nutrition. Great supplement store out here in Jersey. If you're from Jersey, from the tri-state area, you know who Aries is. And also my one of my best friends, Nikki Politi. I couldn't do a lot without her. Like I said, she's a head IFBB Pro judge, head judge at all the PA shows around here. She takes a look at me on weekly basis, tell me what I need to work on. So much love to her. But that's about it, man. But it was great coming on the podcast, man. I had a really good time talking to you and showing to people like who I am and stuff like that. It was fun. I appreciate it.
And you're very welcome. And when we get closer to you getting back on stage for a pro qualifier, we'll get you back on and we'll catch everybody up to speed on how the prep went, where your mindset's at. And then after you get that pro card this next year, we'll bring it back on and talk some more shop. Sound good?
That sounds great, man.
Cool. All right. All of you who are tuning into another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate all of you. I value all of you. And as I always say, and as I will always continue to say, if it weren't for all of you, the podcast simply would not exist. So thank you guys for all of your continued support. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button in regards to Behind the Muscle podcast on YouTube. And also please take this episode with Anthony, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Anthony, tag Behind the Muscle podcast, so that we know that you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. This will be released on New Year's Day. So if you're listening to this or watching this on New Year's Day or the early part of 2023, I just want to wish all of you guys a happy and successful 2023. It's going to be a year of new beginnings. It's going to be a year of great accomplishment, great success. There will be some trials and tribulations, but we'll all see it through to the end. We're going to grow, we're going to mature. And I just wish nothing but the best to all of you who support Behind the Muscle podcast in this new year of 2023. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.